Today's video is going to be all about my favorite vanilla fragrances of all time. Yes, I know that's a bold statement, but if you like the sound of that, then please keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you're visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. As I already mentioned in the intro, today's video is going to be all about vanilla fragrances. So if vanilla isn't your thing, I don't know why you were watching, because this is going to be all things vanilla. It's a category I absolutely love. I am a vanilla girl, I will say that. And I've got a little bit from each category. So if you like a sexy vanilla, a spicy vanilla, a sweet vanilla, and a very gourmand vanilla, then I have you covered. So I guess without further ado, let's jump into the first fragrance. Actually, before I get started on the first fragrance, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. I know that so many of you that watch my channel do not actually subscribe. My videos probably just come up in your explore page, but I would really appreciate it if you could join the family and subscribe to my channel. So the first fragrance is Angelique Noire by Guerlain, and this is one of the most sophisticated vanillas on the market in my opinion. And the reason I feel like it is so sophisticated is because this is a green vanilla, so it's not overly sweet. And I feel like this is so universal because you can wear it for so many occasions. This could be an everyday fragrance, but it could also be a special occasion fragrance. I would even recommend this as a bridal scent. Now, it is still a sweet vanilla, but it's not thick, sticky and dense. You've got lots of greenness coming from the Angelica note in here. Absolutely incredible in my opinion. If you have never sampled Angelique Noire and you don't like overly sweet vanillas, I would highly recommend you do so. Yes, this is an expensive fragrance, but I do truly feel like this is so special, and I've never smelt another fragrance that smells quite like Angelique Noire. It is truly special, so the first vanilla fragrance is Angelique Noire. Okay, so I might as well do the other Guerlain whilst we are here, and the next one would be Spirituese Double Vanille, and this is my baby. I absolutely adore this perfume. There is something so magical about it when I wear it, and it took me the longest time to add it to my collection because it's at a high price point. And when I smelled it before, I thought it was quite a basic vanilla scent, and you might get that same impression, but there is something about the wear of this one. It is perfect. It smells expensive too. This is the most luxurious vanilla bean. So think about that natural vanilla bean pod. That is what I get from this. It's a little bit creamy, but it's not thick and dense or sickly. So it is like having a very, very expensive vanilla pod ice cream, in my opinion. It has the most incredible scent bubble. And I remember the first time I wore this one, I wasn't expecting to be able to smell myself or for it to leave a bit of a scent trail. And it absolutely did, which made me so, so happy. And you can see the dent I've made in this one. And if you watch my channel, you will know I struggle to make dents in my fragrances because I suffer with migraines. I'm not going to bore you with it. I can't overspray like many of the other fragrance reviewers do. So it's very rare to see big dents in my collection, but Spirituese Double Vanille is definitely one of them and I adore it. I think this is one of the most special vanilla fragrances on the market. The next fragrance is Bianco Latte by Giardini di Toscana. I'm not going to stick on this one for too long because I know I've spoken about it so much on my channel. But if you have not smelt this yet and you love vanilla, what are you doing? Because this is definitely one of the best out there. I would highly recommend getting a sample of this one. You will only need 2 ml to know if you love this or not because it's very, very powerful. This has a scent trail like none other, and it is also one of the most complimented fragrances within my entire collection. It's a beast mode of a vanilla. So this is definitely a very sweet and sticky vanilla. You have to really enjoy that caramelized feel. And to me, it's like brown sugar has been cooked down with a vanilla pod, and you're left with the most gorgeous caramelized vanilla. That is what I get from it. Like I said, this one projects, this one lasts all day. Phenomenal fragrance. That's all I'm going to say about it right now, but there are more reviews on my channel of this one if you want to hear more. But Bianco Latte, you need this if you love vanillas. Let's switch it up a little bit. The next fragrance is Absolute Aphrodisiac by Initio, and this is a very sexy vanilla fragrance. Wear this one with caution because you might get followed down the street. That is not an exaggeration either. This one will definitely get you chased down the street by some people. And in essence, this is a vanilla musk. And I feel like this is a very sweet, sticky, caramelized vanilla. But that heavy dose of musk kind of tapers down the sweetness and creates the most unusual wearing experience. It's very sensual. Oh, yes. So imagine you were wearing a very sweet and decadent caramelized vanilla, and you smell it on yourself the day after. So a little bit more of your natural skin chemistry / musk has kind of entwined with the fragrance. And I mean this in the best way possible. It's like that vanilla has become one with your skin. It's very carnal, it's very sexy, and that musk is there to attract. That is what musk is for, right? And yeah, in essence, I'm just going to sum this up as a very musky vanilla fragrance. Of course, there are a lot more notes going on in this composition. This is another fragrance that I've reviewed a lot on my channel, so if you want a more in-depth review. But if you like a sexy, sensual musk and you also like a sweet vanilla, this combines the best of both worlds. Try it out if you haven't already and let me know what you think about it. Next up, we have Insulo, and this one is from Jeroboam, and this is another sweet, sticky, decadent, caramelized vanilla. One of the best on the market in my opinion. Lasts all day, projects beautifully. It's in that same type of category as Bianco Latte, although I would say this one is even more caramelized. To me, this mostly smells like caramel, but it is a caramelized vanilla. Very sexy too. A little bit sugary, lasts all day on the skin, projects beautifully. Highly recommend Insulo. And then I have another fragrance that is a little bit similar to Insulo, and it is Fire at Will by Jovoy. So Insulo and Jeroboam are part of the same company, so I guess that's where that similar DNA comes from. And oh, yes, I need to wear this one more than I do. I've got so many vanillas in my collection that I struggle to make significant dents, as I've already said, apart from Spirituese Double Vanille. But Fire at Will, again, is another very decadent, thick, rich, sweet, caramelized vanilla. This is another one that lasts all day on your skin. It projects beautifully. And if I had to pick between Fire at Will and Insulo, I would probably pick Fire at Will because I feel like there's a slight floral touch in here, and it also has that more crystallized brown sugar vibe to it. Just a little bit more complex than Insulo in my opinion. It depends what you're going for, but yeah, Fire at Will is so delicious, and it would also make a perfect layering fragrance, although this one is strong, so don't layer too heavily. But yeah, highly recommend Fire at Will. So let's switch it up a little bit. The next fragrance is Lune Feline Extrait by Atelier de Source. Now, I've had the original Lune Feline in my collection for quite a while now actually, and I've recommended it in many videos, and I've only just got my hands on the Extrait version, so I thought I would feature it here today. But as you can see, it hasn't been worn much, but I have wanted this one for the longest time because I am obsessed with the original Lune Feline. It is a smoky vanilla. It's sexy, it's a beast mode, and oh, it is just so good. But you have to really enjoy your smoky vanillas, and you have to also enjoy a cardamom note. So In Lune Feline and Lune Feline Extrait, there's a very prominent cardamom note in here. And that is just a note that I really, really enjoy. And the cardamom is so fresh and uplifting. It almost gives it a cooling vibe, a little bit menthol, a little bit spicy. And then you get a beautiful smokiness. And I've been asked a number of times how Lune Feline compares to By the Fireplace. And to me, By the Fireplace is very, very smoky. And I would go as far to say that By the Fireplace smells a little bit more like a candle to me, whereas Lune Feline smells like the most gorgeous perfume. It is incredible. Oh, I can't get enough of this one. Smoky cardamom vanilla, not overly sweet at all. It's extremely classy. Now you can get samples on the Atelier de Sour's website of both Lune Feline and the Extrait version. I would recommend doing so. Now, I originally got a sample of Lune Feline Extrait, must have been about a year and a half ago. And at the time, I was like, oof, I don't know if I can spend the money on the Extrait. So I purchased the original Lune Feline first. And then when I got it, I was like, oof, they're similar, but they're not the same. And I kind of regretted not going for the Extrait straight away. But the Extrait was, I think, around $100 more than the original. So I just purchased the original. So happy to have them both in my collection now. But I would highly recommend sampling them both and deciding which one you prefer out of the two. That is if you like a smoky vanilla. But yeah, this is such a special fragrance and I would highly, highly recommend it. The next fragrance is one of the most complex vanillas in this list, and it's also quite aromatic and spicy, but it is incredibly special. And I would go as far to say this is a 10 out of 10. Whilst I don't reach for this one as much as some of the other fragrances within this list, this one is a showstopper. And I was toying which one to add, either the original Ani or the new Ani X, because I own both of them. And one moment Ani X is my favorite and the next the original Ani is. And the reason why I've included the original Ani is because I feel like this one is a little bit more unique and a little bit more show-stopping. So it's a complex vanilla. Another vanilla that's quite fresh in the opening. You also have cardamom in here, but you also have a bite of ginger, and I love ginger in fragrances as well as the cardamom. And then in the base, you've got benzoin and vanilla. It's a really intoxicating fragrance. Very, very unisex. And if you don't like overly sweet vanillas and you want something that's just a little bit unique and you've not tried Ani, I would highly recommend getting your nose on this one. If you can, I would get a sample of Ani and Ani X so you can compare which one you prefer. Now, for me, Ani X isn't as green in the opening and it's a little bit smoother around the edges. And what I mean by that is because of the ginger, the cardamom, and even the green notes, this can come across quite harsh in the opening, but harsh in the best way, very, very unique. Whereas Ani X is just a little bit more smooth in the opening, in my opinion. So yeah, had to include Ani X. It's an incredible fragrance. Next up, we have Note Vanille Nectar by M. Micallef. And I have the original Note Vanille too. But Note Vanille Nectar, wow, chef's kiss. This one is definitely newer to my collection. It's my scent of the day. And this is like the original Note Vanille, but it is amped up to the max. This one is more sticky, it's more vanillic. It's a little bit more deep on the boozy note. There are some slight floral touches throughout too. Just similar to the original, but in my opinion, this one is a little bit more sticky and dense in that vanilla. Very, very special. Let me just smell. Yeah, I definitely get a little bit more of the florals in the Nectar version. Still very vanillic, but it's not overly heavy in any way. I would say this is a very classy vanilla, just like M. Micallef as a brand. Their kind of overall DNA is very classy, very sophisticated, and very, very timeless. And if you like Note Vanille and you've not tried the Nectar version, I really think you should try it because This one is incredible, and I know it's going to get better with time because it's a vanilla fragrance too. But also, if you tried the original Note Vanille and it maybe wasn't for you, maybe it was a little bit too light, you still might like Nectar, because as I mentioned, it's a little bit more sticky, a little bit more denser, and it has more of a wow factor to it. Next up, we have Accident à la Vanille by Jousset, and this is another very sticky, dense, straight up caramelized vanilla in a similar category as Insulo, Fire at Will, and Bianco Latte. Very, very sweet and decadent. However, in Accident à la Vanille, and I don't know if anyone else gets this, but I almost get a buttery popcorn vibe in there too. Oh. Yes. This is more of a cooked vanilla. So it's caramelized vanilla still, but it's definitely been cooked or baked in some way, some kind of confectionery. I'm getting buttery popcorn too. It smells really realistic, very, very strong to my nose. It's got to be one of the best straight up vanilla fragrances out there. Took me so long to try this one, and I thank Gabby from Gabby Loves Perfumes, because back around May time she sent me a sample of this one and I fell in love with it. So yeah, if you've never tried Accident à la Vanille and you like a very caramelized vanilla that almost has this kind of baked, cakey, baked goods vibe, maybe buttery popcorn, definitely get your nose on this one, because wow, it's a chef's kiss. Now this bottle is so reflective, so I'm having to position it in a certain way so it doesn't reflect all of the lights. And this is more of a complex vanilla. I would say this is a little bit more challenging than some of the other fragrances within this list. Now to me, I do kind of get this powdered sugar donut vibe from this, although it does have a backbone to it as well. There is saffron in the opening, and then there's a very light, smooth oud in the base. There's a little bit of suede, there's a little bit of tobacco. It has some ylang ylang in here too. Very, very vanillic. It's got some patchouli. It's a complex fragrance, but through all of those notes, I still get some kind of powdered sugar donuts with a backbone of a woody base, which is that smooth oud. I don't really get much tobacco, if I'm being honest with you. I don't get much of the florals through here either. I get a little bit of that saffron, and I definitely get the cinnamon. So let's say powdered sugar cinnamon donuts, but it has oud. So don't just think this is gonna smell like donuts. Definitely sample it before buying, but they are bringing out an Extrait version, which I can't wait to get my nose on. However, I think the original Silky Woods is super strong, so I'm curious what they are going to be doing with the Extrait, but highly recommend this for someone that wants a more complex vanilla fragrance. And last, but by no means least, before I mention a couple of bonus fragrances, we have Burberry Goddess, which is a new designer release of the year. And I felt like it deserved to be in this list because, in my opinion, it is definitely one of the best designer vanilla fragrances out there, especially designer fragrances that are more straight up vanillas, which this is. However, there is a big dose of lavender too, which gives this a freshness, a slight cooling feel to it, and it stops it from being overly sweet. And then you've also got a little bit of cacao in here. It's an incredibly good fragrance from Burberry, in my opinion. When I first smelt it, I wasn't that impressed, but then I sprayed it on the skin, as you should always do, and that is when it kind of blew my mind, and I knew it was an amazing vanilla. It just did something with the skin chemistry. So highly recommend Burberry Goddess. This one will be more accessible, so please try to sample it in your local department store, but make sure you spray it on the skin. And I wanted to mention a couple of fragrances that I also have in my collection that I didn't include in this video just because it would have been too long, but there are so many vanilla fragrances that I adore. Of course, I adore Guerlain's Vanilla 28, but I talk about it all the time and it's probably in every vanilla video that you've watched. So I decided not to include it in this video, but it is an honorable mention. And the same with Guerlain's Vanilla Royale. I think that's a great vanilla fragrance too. Another one that I thought about including is Christian Louboutin's Luby Rouge. Although that is more of an iris kind of musky cardamom fragrance, it's a soft vanilla too. Very, very sophisticated. We've got Diptyque's Eau de Well, which I don't actually own, but I think it's an incredible fragrance. What else did I forget? Ruby Naga by Stefan Humbert Lucas. Oh, there's so many that I could have included in this video, but I shared the ones that I am loving the most at the moment. So what I want to know, and it's what I always want to know, is please do let me know your favorite vanilla fragrances. I always find the best recommendations in the comments section, so please do keep them coming. I would love to hear what fragrances that you are loving. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Thank you so much and goodbye.